on that and more. When we booked you, Lewis, you didn't know we'd be talking about Tim Tebow this morning, did you?
Hey, it's the last thing I was thinking, man. But it's good, though. It's good. Let's talk about it.
What is your big picture perspective on, you know what Chip Kelly does. You know what Tim Tebow's skill set is. We've been wondering for years, is there a way to have a role for Tim Tebow to utilize those skills? The Jets didn't even try. Do you think Chip Kelly will?
Well, sure. I mean, this offense is one where the running portion of it for the quarterback obviously fits Tim's skill set. Now, how they would work that into this scenario in an NFL game on a Sunday during the regular season, I have no idea. I just don't see it. I've heard people speculate over the fact that, well, maybe if the extra point scenario is changed around where it becomes all 2-point conversions, that Tim Tebow could become like a wild card in that kind of scenario. But you don't sign players, as far as I'm concerned, when you're building a 53-man roster, for that kind of scenario. The fact of the matter here is this, and Chip hit on it a couple of years ago. Tim is kind of like a running back who sometimes throws the football. He's really not a quarterback that can run. It just doesn't fit that way. And Chip made this comment a couple of years ago. So here's the other thing I'll say about, whenever any kind of roster transaction that you're making at this time of year, you don't play games for 4 months. So this could be something that quickly goes away just as quickly as it came upon us. As soon as Tim starts throwing the football, as soon as they start realizing that maybe it's just not, the same way with New England. He's just not good enough to be on this football team.
Here's that quote, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the quote, this was in November of 2012 on Grantland. Chip Kelly was quoted as saying, "I look for a quarterback who can run, not a running back who can throw. I want a quarterback who can beat you with his arm. We are not a Tim Tebow type of quarterback team. I'm not going to run my quarterback 20 times on power runs." That's the quote that he had.
I was going to say, does the attention really go away? I mean, for a guy like Tim Tebow, like we've seen it. We've seen the kind of mass hysteria created with the Patriots. And, with all the attention, does this kind of add on to already kind of wild card, thoughts on what Chip Kelly has done with this team, right? Because people are already questioning what's going on with LaShawn McCoy, let him go, obviously getting DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews adds into the equation. But does that hurt or help?
Well, I think with Chip himself, Chip doesn't care. Now, in Philadelphia, you know how it's going to be in Philly. You know how it's already right now. Now it's like, what is he doing? They're already asking, what is he doing? What is his formula here for building this football team? Now they're going, now what's this? You said this a couple of years ago. Now you're bringing this guy in here. I mean, what's he going to do for you? They signed Sam Bradford, who can't really run. Now you signed Tim Tebow, who can't really throw. So what are you doing now? If you combine them, maybe you have something. But see, that's the thing. That's where people are constantly. Chip is having people constantly guessing right now as to what really is the method to your madness here. I still think at the end of the day, for me, and I said this a couple of weeks ago. I said it months ago. I mean, Marcus is the ideal. He's the ideal. Will they get him? Probably not. Could they? Maybe. But Chip knows that people are going to try and hold him hostage to try and get up there to get him. So we already know that scenario. But look, Chip is just one of those guys. He's such a unique guy. He really does. Some people say I'm impervious to the noise and what people are saying about me. This guy lives it. He just doesn't care right now. He has his own formula. He's going to do things his way. And he's one of those guys who always says, just because it's always been done a certain way doesn't mean I have to do it that way.
Mike Lewis Riddick in our studio. The end of last week, Adrian Peterson was reinstated by the NFL. The Vikings put out the statement you knew they would, saying we're looking forward to having him back. Yep. It's clear he doesn't want to be there. I saw you regularly on Twitter have been saying if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you're not even thinking of making a trade for him.
No, there's a lot of good running backs in this draft. Just coming out of the combine rechecks this past weekend, from what I've heard, Todd Gurley is on track. He's on track to be ready to play at the beginning of the season. Now, will he be up to full strength? Will he be at his best? No, that'll probably take a year. But there's some other guys, Tevin Coleman, who went to combine rechecks, who had a toe injury at Indiana. Good to go. Duke Johnson, very good-looking player. Amir Abdullah, Jay Ajayi from Boise State. I mean, you've got some good backs here that you'll be able to get second, third round. That behind that offensive line will look great. I'm just not really willing to go ahead and trade for a guy like that at this point in time, given what else that team needs. Look, Dallas is on the right track right now. And if I'm Minnesota, and I've been saying this also, Mike, I'm just saying, hey, Adrian, I'll see you in August. You say whatever you want, I'll see you in August.
Is that purely a financial thing? Or, I mean, do you think AP doesn't bring great qualities to Dallas if it were to work?
No, he does, Jay, but it's just about looking at the greater overall 53-man roster here. I just don't think you need to go ahead and extend yourself as far as that kind of commitment to that position in order to get to really where you need to get to. You just don't. Is AP going to put Dallas over the top? I mean, he's going to make him better. He's going to make Minnesota a lot better. He's going to make whatever team he plays for a lot better. I'm just saying this. You only have so many cap dollars to go around. You only have so many spots on a 53-man roster. I think Dallas could be better served using the chips that they have to build their football team to put it other places. Because there's some good backs in this draft.
Mike Lewis Riddick is here. It's always about the quarterbacks, and I was away last week, and I did my best to sort of stay plugged into what was going on. The sense I got is that there was a little bit of steam being picked up for the hold on, Jameis Winston might not be the first pick after all kind of momentum. So I have two questions. One, what are you hearing about the Winston-Mariota dynamic? And two, is one of the other quarterbacks sort of emerging as a clear-cut third pick amongst quarterbacks? I don't mean the third pick in the draft, but a third choice amongst quarterbacks.
I'll take it backwards there. Is there a clear-cut number 3? No, not for me. All these guys have holes for me. Yeah, right now it's kind of funny. You have a little bit of time here between now and the draft, so it's almost like people get bored and want to just kind of drum up stories and push guys up the board, really, when they haven't played any games in 4 or 5 months. But as far as the top 2 quarterbacks are concerned, look, it's always been the same with Jameis. It's always been about the off-field. It's always going to be about, can you trust him, can you not trust him? Can you trust him? Will he make the decisions that he needs to make? It is not about his play on the football field. I know people have picked apart the number of interceptions that he threw. Look, I've talked to a couple different quarterback coaches who have said this. Look, did he take chances in 2014? Yeah, he did. Did he make some decisions that he shouldn't have made? Sure, but he's one of the great anticipatory throwers that you will see coming out of college running a pro-style offense. And he thought he could make some plays that he probably shouldn't have tried to make. But if you look at the number of plays that he did make, that there aren't a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that can make them. And this whole notion about the fact that Jameis is one of these guys who can't get away from pressure and he's a slug and he's not a good athlete and all, I think that's one of the most ridiculous arguments I've heard so far. Because I can pull up right now, I could go to my computer and give you 10 plays where I go, I bet you Eli Manning can't make that play. Drew Brees can't make that play. Peyton Manning can't make that play. Tom Brady can't make that play. Unless you're telling me that this kid from the pocket can't be as good as those guys, which I would argue that maybe he can be. So let's not pick apart the fact that he might not be athletic enough. This has always been about what is Jameis the player going to do for you, and are you going to be able to have him because he will make the right decisions or won't. It's not about his play on the field. He's going to be just fine.
Who do you take first pick? I mean, if it's between Jameis and
don't ask me that question. But you know what? I love Marcus because I think Marcus is going to do a lot more things from the pocket on third down, throwing the football than people will give him credit for. Now, remember, at the end of the year, last year, it was, Marcus is really just benefiting from the offense. He's just throwing the open spots. The offense is creating all these kind of lanes for him. Now it's, wow, Marcus really does read progressions. He really is a full-field reader. Well, yeah, he was a full-field reader back in January. But see, now the momentum just shifts, man. It's kind of weird right now. It's really weird. Who do I take? If I have the structure in Tampa, I take him. If I think I can handle him off the field. Me personally, knowing what I know, look, I have a hard time with this, and I've been on record about these kind of things as far as character is concerned. I've seen it ruin players' careers. I've seen guys with great talent who are just knuckleheads, man. I used to hang out with some. I know how these guys work. And I don't know Jameis enough to say this. But knowing what I know, I'd be scared to pick him. Yeah, I would.
So Lewis Riddick, whose insight is as good as anybody's as we lead up to the draft next week. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming by. Pleasure. You'll see him all day today, all over ESPN. Chauncey Billups will join us live next. His thoughts on the first weekend of the NBA playoffs. And as I told you, in this hour, the winning word, your chance to win a trip to the ESPYs. Coming up.